The Donkey Kong games have seen a decent amount of interesting enemies, from King K. Rool to the Ghastly King, all the way to Tiki Tong and the Snowman King. However, I think the most interesting group of antagonists these games have introduced since K. Rool and the Kremlings have been Voidco, and that's probably evident by all the times I've talked about Bonanza and this group. And if you've been keeping track, which you should be, you know we talked about Poppy Kong and Grumpy Kong. That leaves the little man in charge himself, Void Kong. Alas, before we get started, I must inform you all of critical news. It is, once again, Monkey Monday! And I would like to thank all of you for getting me to 900 subscribers. Holy hell, we are in the final push to 1,000. A reminder, once we get to that 1,000, I will be giving away one copy of Donkey Kong Bonanza. More details will come once we get that all squared away. And one more thing, this is your official spoiler alert. There will be spoilers in this video, so just keep that in mind. The spoiler warning aside, let's get back to covering our favorite newest little gremlin, Void Kong. So I know I initially said I was starting with the hardest with Grumpy Kong and working my down to the easiest with Void Kong, and I honestly feel like I really misspoke because both Poppy and Void are extremely challenging to narrow down. From an appearance standpoint, it's actually not the hardest to narrow down at all, but from a personality standpoint and characteristic standpoint, this is where it's challenging because Void Kong is just a small little monkey with a kind of nasty heart. In this game, he mostly has negative attributes without anything else to go after. All we know about Void Kong in this game is he's a nasty little bastard, and that's it. However, you know I'm not going to shy away from a challenge, so let's dig deeper into these characteristics, even if they are somewhat limited. So when we first meet Void Kong, there's really not too much to talk about here. He tells us that he's going to the planet Core, he needs Pauline back, and that's all we know about his motives. Characteristically speaking, he's eccentric, demanding, aggressive, and very vocal. And to be completely honest, that's pretty much how he stays this entire game. There's not a sign of a redeeming quality here, he's just a greedy, evil little dude like I said at the beginning. And again, that's just kind of how he stays, so nothing here really helps narrow it down to any specific monkey. It's not like there's any one simple monkey that demonstrates these qualities as their norm. Macaques and other monkeys in tourist spots have learned to take food from humans, but I'm pretty sure that's just adapting to their situations. And unfortunately for Void Kong, there's nothing really clarifying in the game if he got this crazy to adapt to a situation. We do know based off a loading screen he got so crazy for the Bonandium root because it was making his struggling mining company a decent bit of profit. So could that be adapting for survivability, or is it just he got really greedy? We don't really have an answer to that in this game, but we can use this for further speculation. However, what we can't use for speculation is this dude still turned a child into a little rock creature for his benefit. There's desperation, and then there's just being a dick, and Void Kong has definitely crossed that line.
Hey, Void Kong.
You suck, you jackass!
If I have to reach, the most I could say about the dude is that he is determined. Even when he is down numbers in Voidco, he still perseveres to reach his goal, which, you know, I guess is somewhat commendable. On top of that, based off some other key art we can see here, he's the one putting up his own posters that we see everywhere in the game. So he really is determined to push for his cause, even if the cause is purely greed. Considering all of this for the first time, I'm still left pretty blank. We know he's aggressive, determined, and greedy. There are some macaques that maybe have a bit of selfishness seen in experiments, but no one monkey fits all of these archetypes. A study done by Dr. Jean-Baptiste Lecca in 2021 shows that macaques have learned how to assess lower to higher grade value items and barter them. This sort of relates to Void Kong in his assessment of the Bonandium gems. This is specifically the long-tail crab-eating macaque that we're talking about. There was also another study done with the Capuchin in 2008 that shows if it could pick reward between itself or rewarding a community, the results varied quite often. And these two species were the closest things I could find when it came to the characteristics and personality of Void Kong. Until I went with an option that a viewer was excited to see, and it is the most predictable of the options. This option, of course, being the species, the marmoset. who Mario87456 said he was very excited to see a video about and who I plan talking about the most in the second half of this video when it came to the appearance. However, I did a little bit more research in the marmoset beyond just its appearance, and I found there are some similarities to Void Kong. In an article done by ResearchGate, it said that common marmosets, when stressed and in captivity with limited resources, do have the capacity to start food stealing and resource hoarding, which makes sense to Void Kong when we know the man is getting specifically greedy because he's down on his luck with his mining company. Now, you can argue, well, Jorkies, all monkeys are capable of doing that. Sure, but allow me to put a stamp of, you can't argue this on the video. I'm narrowing this down to the mountain marmoset, specifically the buffy tufted ear marmoset, who are endangered due to the invasive species that is common marmosets and the destruction of their environment. And if we use the research done in sources such as the Journal of Tropical Ecology, we can concur that when habitats become harsh, just like the article done by ResearchGate says, that promotes abnormalities in their normal behavior. So if we really wanted to stretch that logic out, the buffy tufted ear marmoset has even more of a reason to be selfish because they're critically endangered due to invasive species and destruction of their habitat. So I am going to get rid of the common marmoset from the consideration pool. So we can gather that the buffy tufted ear marmoset and Void Kong both have a reason to be selfish. And if that's not enough for you, let's just get into the appearance so I can really solidify this argument. Void Kong can no longer hide it.
I am small.
He's just a little guy. I think he's the smallest Donkey Kong main enemy we've seen thus far. And when I think of small little monkeys, I immediately think of the marmoset. A baby marmoset can fit on your finger. Just look at this little guy. Wow! Now, just because they're small doesn't mean you should ever own these guys as pets, by the way. And if you do...
You're not just wrong, you're stupid. Now wait just a minute. And you're ugly, just like your mum.
That aside, we are specifically looking at the buffy tufted ear marmoset due to their very small stature and their big spiky ears. Just look at these little dudes. With similar color patterns to Void Kong and similar ears, it makes it pretty hard to deny this monkey looks the closest to Void Kong. So to answer a previous concern that I brought up earlier, sure, multiple monkeys can have the capacity of hoarding food in desperation. However, not all of them fit the very exact appearance here that the marmoset shares in common with Void Kong. So, as predictable as it is, given the fact that marmosets, when pushed against the wall, can become a bit greedy and self-sustaining, and the insanely similar appearance, it seems the best possible route here is to indeed concur Void Kong is a buffy tufted ear marmoset. I wish I had any better of an answer to give you guys here, but sometimes the most predictable answer is the best answer to give. Void Kong is a cartoonishly greedy guy, and we don't have too much about him because he isn't all that fleshed out in the base game. I don't think that's a bad thing though. I think Void Kong being closest to the marmoset gives him a Koba type level of kind primate turned bad and almost going against the nature of his species. And before we conclude this video, if you'd like to help some of these marmosets not end up like Void Kong, please consider checking out this website, mountainmarmosetsconservation.com. They have a donation page, and it's also just helpful spreading the knowledge about these wonderful primates and learning about them yourself. And that is it for this Monkey Monday, and that is it for Void Co. Thank you for checking out this video, and if you've been here since the start, thank you for checking out this series. I'd like to eventually revisit this series of Void Co, possibly redoing the Poppy Kong one down the line, but until then, we have to keep moving forward. So this time, it is vital. What would you guys like to see done in the next Monkey Monday? And as always, I'm gonna give you the same spill that every YouTuber gives you. If you liked the video, please feel free to like, leave a comment, and if you want to join up in this growing primate nation, I'd encourage you to subscribe. As said, once we hit 1,000 subscribers, I will be doing that Donkey Kong giveaway. And if you already have, thank you, as per usual, for joining in on this adventure. So until next time, you all make sure to have a fantastic day.